Hello, everybody. It is your Uncle Fish back again for School of Fish Art Stream. J-Man wants a Gatling gun on the end of his tail. Oh my goodness. J-Man says the tail's where you put all the heavy artillery. Yeah. Said he used to have a howitzer on the end of his tail.
What is up, everybody? We are starting the School of Fish a few minutes early today because we have had an impatient man in the comments section raising Cain, causing problems as always, as Kyron will do. Anyway, welcome to the show. I'm your ever-loving Uncle Fish. I'm glad to be here. I am the creator of such books as The Mighty Caw, which is now issue 2, is now available on the TikTok shop, and Fish Tales, the new anthology available from Mr. Fish Comics and available on the TikTok shop right now. Went out to backers of the Patreon this month, and T-Man Hyperstrike Remastered, following the adventures of a superhero team with Tourette syndrome and ADHD. T-Man is the living embodiment of Tourette syndrome, has all of our combined brilliance, creativity, skills, and all of our combined tics. And Hyperstrike is the hyperactive hero, has all kinds of cool interests. She's studied martial arts, become an expert in many different fields, and is an engineer, and has built a suit of armor that powers all of this stuff with her extra energy from her ADHD. The full color version, remastered version, will be going out this month, and then we are working on right now. I just finished like the halfway point on the inks for Call 3 this afternoon, and got those shipped off to Shane over in the Philippines to start flatting for me. And hopefully I will have the rest of it knocked out in the next couple of days. I have several podcasts and shows and stuff that I'm doing coming up very soon. And my buddy Travis Gibb just asked me to do a cover for him. So hopefully in the next couple of days, I will have the inks wrapped up and finished off and sent to her. And The Mighty Caw will be going out next month in March to backers. Lord willing and the creek don't rise. I mean, a million things could happen. But if everything goes to plan, that should be March's book going out. We are back again for the School of Fish. And as I've said before, I really want to try and be more purposeful about being more educational on the actual how-to of making comics. And one of the things that I wanted to delve into a little bit today, and there's so much to this, but is the idea of going from script to a page, going from script to thumbnails or page layouts, however you do it. The way I do it is probably not the way most people should do it. I'm just going to be honest with you. I tend to jump ahead a lot, and I would not recommend that, especially starting out, especially trying to figure this out. It's not the best way to go. Do more as I say, not as I do, in this aspect. There are a lot of different types of scripts. I've received just about every single kind of script from just about every single kind of client that you can get. And some of them are very strict and hardline, and like they have laid everything out in the script. They have it broken down panel by panel. They have the panels broken down and described. I want this to be a worm's eye view with this character on the left and this character on the right. And I want the character in the left in the foreground, the character in the right in the background. And I want them looking over their shoulder and this, that, and the other. And I want a bird on the left-hand side. And they're very, very strict about it. They want exactly that. Okay, great. I will give you exactly that. I will do it the best I can. Some of them even lay out how much of the page they want each panel to take up. You know, like they do everything but draw it for you. I don't personally care for that kind of script myself because it takes all my ability to be creative out of it. It's just a personal preference. I prefer having more freedom to bring my creativity to it. The more you tighten up that leash on me and tell me this is exactly what it needs to be, this many panels from these angles, blah, 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 that prevents me from being able to envision the scene any other way. And being able to bring you the coolest version of this story that I could bring you. I will give you the coolest version of the very strict script that you gave me that I possibly can, but I can only be as creative as I can be within the restraints that you gave me in that, if that makes any sense to anybody else. Whereas with a looser script or somebody who's much more comfortable with the collaborative process, I can often give you much better than what you initially imagined writing it down, because I can I have certain gifts that not everybody has, like being able to turn stuff around in my head in 3D and run the scene back and forth like a video player and stuff. And a lot of people can't do that in their imaginations. That is a gift that to the way my crazy miswired brain works, that makes that a little bit easier for me. Yeah, hyper detailed scripts. Absolutely. That's what I want. Oh, yeah. And if you could draw little sketches for me, that would be great, because it's like freaking kryptonite to my brain. As soon as I see a sketch that a client has laid out, like, this is what I want the page to look like, this is what I want the panels to look like, I will never be able to see that scene any other way. You might as well hang a rock of kryptonite around my neck. I'm done. I cannot envision anything else but this scene from that angle. And if your poses are weak, or your angle is weak, or it's not very dramatic, there's nothing I can do about it after I've seen that sketch. It's done. It's locked in my brain. There is no other way that this scene could possibly play out but that. And that's a shame. I had one client find that out the hard way, and he kept sending me all these pictures that he would cobble together in Photoshop of dolls and background images and all kinds of stuff, trying to show me what he had in his brain. And what he had in his brain was fine. Like, the stuff he imagined for his panels would be perfectly fine in any, average indie comic book. Like, it wouldn't fly at Marvel or DC, but it would be fine in your average indie book. But once I begged him, I was like, look, don't send me your drawings for the next page. Like, let me just take the script and show you what I can do. And after that, he was done. He's like, okay, yeah, this is way better than I imagined, because I could be more creative with it, and I'm a little bit better at that stuff than he was. Extensive and hyper detailed layouts also. Double got it. Yep, Kyron is paying attention. That's why Kyron's the man. One of my best students in the class. Paying attention and taking notes. Might be the wrong notes, but by God, he's taking them. I have one client, Roy Johnson, that I've worked with a lot, and he writes a fairly detailed script. Like, he breaks everything down into panels, but he's also really comfortable with the collaborative process, and he knows he can trust me. So he usually has no issue if I combine panels together to make a cooler, more dramatic shot, or if I split a panel into 3 panels to give it more time for, the emotional beats to happen. And because I draw so fast, I'll just sketch it out for him and send it to him, and then he can either approve it or not. And I always know when I change something from the script to do it a different way, I'm taking a chance in that. And it's faster and easier for me to just sketch it out than to try and explain it, especially over text messages. It's just easier for me to just sketch it out and show you what I'm thinking about, because it takes me like 5 minutes to sketch that out. And that's just quicker. And if he doesn't like it, then I will absolutely go back and do it the way it's written in the script. No problem. I know I'm taking that chance. But so far, I've only had to go back and, do it as it is in the script once, I think, maybe. It's been a really great process working with him, because he knows he can trust me. And it's really fun sometimes when it gets to battles and he's like, 4 pages of action, because he knows I'm going to make it awesome. And that was really fun when we finally got to that point to where he calls it being lazy. I call it trusting the artist. And the fact that he could trust me with that and not have to keep an iron grip on everything, that made me really proud. For me personally, I like to work from a lot looser script myself. I like the outline method myself. I have worked with several friends. We've got like a small group of people that we know we trust, and we can be straight with each other, and we can throw out ideas, and you can use it or not use it, and we're not going to get our feelings hurt about it. And, it would have been better to use my idea. We're not going to do all that. We're just friends helping each other out, and we'll kick out ideas, and we will like open up a Google Doc that we can all see and work on at the same time. And we'll be kicking out ideas and writing it down in an outline. And I've just really come to enjoy that outline method. And I just make points of, these are the points that I want to happen in the book. These are the things that I want to happen in the story. These are the major things that need to happen here. And then you can move them around if you need to, and then I just go in between each one of those points and start to add the points that I need to happen to get from that point to this point. And then I go in between those and add, how do I need to get from here to here? And then next thing you know, I've pretty much got the whole script laid out. Sometimes I will add in dialogue at that point. I like to have as much dialogue as possible when I'm penciling the pages. If I'm doing a book for you, I would love to have all the dialogue done, or at least really close to done, when you send me the script, because I like to add it in while I'm penciling personally, because I do all of it myself. I like to add it in when I'm penciling so I can make sure there's enough room for everything. And if there's like a whole lot of dialogue that's going to take up a whole lot of room, I want to make sure I leave enough room for that, because nothing breaks my heart more than reading an indie comic where there's a whole lot of dialogue that's really tiny and cramped in because they didn't leave enough room for the art. Or worse yet, they have to put words right over somebody's head. I have seen in books because the artist just didn't leave them any room for the dialogue. And I don't want that to happen. So I like to put it in, especially in the rough layout stage, because it's a lot easier to move a rough sketch of a character around to make room for word balloons than it is finished pencils or finished inks, or, for God's sake, fully colored artwork. No, I don't want to have to do that. I want to do that in the rough stage. And it gives them more time for the clients to see any editing mistakes that we need to fix. It works out well for me. So that's usually the way I work with it. If you're working for a client, you may not be doing the lettering. Just try and make sure that you leave plenty of room for that. And again, a lot of the work I'm doing now is doing my own books. So I'm getting to write scripts for myself. I know what I'm thinking. I don't necessarily have to put all the same detail in that I would if I was writing this for somebody else to illustrate it. If I was writing this for Kyron to illustrate it, I would absolutely put a lot more details, and I would have reference images, and I would describe the rooms and stuff. But I've got all this stuff percolating in my head as I go anyway. So I'm going to pull up the script for Caw 3 that I've been working on. And here on page 2, and you can see, like, it started out with the king wakes up, and then, like, the next point was explosion, and Caw's trying to outrun a shockwave. And those were my main points that I wanted to hit. And then in between those, I added in next points, like the high priest is ringing a bell, calling the women out of the fields, and they have to get bathed and dressed in these priestly garbs, and they have to prepare the king's robes, and they have to pull these levers, and all these things that I need to happen. And in between there, I've added like sections for captions and dialogue, and I added dialogue and I changed dialogue as I was moving around on the page. But anyway, so I know on this page I need to have the priest ringing the bell, calling all the women from the village below, because in the story, the Quantum King, who's just now being introduced, who rules this world that Caw has just crashed on, Kyron don't need no stinking details and notes, because Kyron knows it all, which, that comes with being Kyron. I get it. But the Quantum King rules this world. He's got this high-tech base built into this waterfall, so the waterfall would be a continuous source of energy to power his quantum generator. So when he sleeps for hundreds of years, it's powering his body and keeping all of his particles together and whatnot. Anyway, he's got this base in this waterfall. When he woke up after hundreds of years of sleeping, there was a village below this waterfall, survivors that, had come to live around this waterfall. He ended up training some of them to basically be his tech support and take care of his equipment and stuff while he sleeps. And over the generations, this has essentially grown into a religion. And they wear all of these robes and stuff. They have to bathe themselves when they come in, which is washing off contaminants and stuff so that they don't bring mold and fungus and dirt into all of his high-tech equipment. They have to put on these pure linen robes, which is to make sure that they're clean and not contaminated. They wear all these scarves and stuff with all these markings on them, which are holy garbs to them that show that they have mastered these trials and all these things. But in reality, it's an easy way for the king to look at them and see, oh, they're wearing these scarves. That means they're certified in this, this, and this. So he knows who he can trust for certain jobs, who's qualified to do what, because they basically have barcodes all over their bodies with all these scarves saying all the different accomplishments that they've had in training. And, to them, it's religious training. To him, it's technical training. But it was easier for it to become a religion over the years. So that's where a lot of the religious tones come from. This is they've made it a religion, and this way they keep it very important and they don't make mistakes and whatnot. So anyway, the high priest is up there. He's always tending to the equipment. There's some kind of emergency. He rings the bell, which lets all the women in the village below know, oh, it's time. So they have to climb up the mountain, which is something that I did not put in the script, but ended up becoming important on the page. That's a big jump between being like down here on the page. They're down harvesting food out of the valley, and all of a sudden they have to be back up there in the temple. So I added a panel from the script to there that shows them going up the side of the cliff. They get inside, they get bathed and purified, and they dress in royal garbs. And then they prepare the king's robes and stuff, which I ended up moving that section to the next page. And I moved some things around from here to there as I was laying it out, but that's okay for me because I'm doing my story. If I was hired by Kyron to do his story, then I would check with him and ask before I started moving things around like that. So anyway, we look at all of that stuff. I know the things I need to do is I need to have the priest ringing the bell. I need to have the women coming up from the fields below. I need to have them getting bathed and dressing in their linen garbs so that they can be clean to prepare it. I have a bit in here about them reading out off the scrolls that the priestess shall be bathed twice and all this, and that they shall pull the two levers in unison, for two must be pulled as one. And as I was working on the page, I enjoyed that bit so much I ended up extending it as well. And then the king wakes up and asks why he's been awakened, and they let him know that the oracle has prophesied a great calamity approaching from the heavens. That's what we need to happen on this page. So, we're going to collapse that. We're going to open a page. I've already illustrated this page, but we're going to make a new page, and we are going to go to the Kablam template, and it's recording the time. I don't really need it to record the time lapse. Cover page. Okay, there we go. And boom, my page is set up to Kablam standards. I absolutely recommend doing thumbnails first. I don't tend to do that. I wish I did, but I don't. I wish I did. I wish I took more than one crack at laying out pages. A lot of the time, I tend to just see what I want to put on the page and then I do it. And that's not really something that's easy for other people to emulate. So, what I would really recommend doing, I'm making a new vector layer so it's easier to work with shapes. I'm going to come down here and get the rectangle tool. I am going to make a rectangle that is the size of the page. And then I am going to click on that object and I'm going to shrink it down. Little shrink it doo. I'm going to enlarge the thickness on the lines a little bit. And then I'm going to copy and paste. I'm going to bring that over. I'm going to select both of those. And then I'm going to copy and paste, drag it down, copy and paste, drag it down. So I have something to work on thumbnails from. I'm going to thumbnail in these little blocks here that I know are about the same size as a comic book page because that's what I made them off of. And now I'm going to go down to the layer below that and I'm going to click on layer color so everything that I'm drawing is going to be blue. I'm so lonesome for you. Now, the reason I did them exactly, do as I say, not as I do, because sometimes I don't do right, and sometimes I do. Something is all akimbo in the. Oh, that's what's wrong. My little stand is. My stand's all wompy jawed from my tablet. Hold on one second. There we go. It's nice sometimes to have the little folding stand that'll get out of my way so quickly, and sometimes it's a real pain in the butt. I absolutely recommend doing thumbnails first because it's a lot easier to make little sketches like this and figure out how do I want to balance out the page, where do I want, the important bits being. It's a whole lot easier to do it at a size like this, and if I don't like it, then it's a whole lot easier to just wipe that out and start over than it is if I've drawn. I tend to do my thumbnails and my rough layouts on the full page, and I'll show you how I do that, but I don't really recommend it because it's easy to get lost in drawing too much detail and getting too far into it before you've gotten an okay or not on if this layout works. And then you don't want to change it because you've already invested too much time in it. It's easy to get trapped in, this is what I started, this is what I need to finish. It's been working out okay for me for a while, but not everybody's first idea is always going to work. So I absolutely recommend starting out with something like this. And I also like laying out the pages in two so that you can actually see the page turn of it all. See where they're going to lay out. I'm trying to see if I can find. I don't think I have one handy, but I used to make I used to make little like Ashcan comic sketchbooks that I would do thumbnails and stuff in, like this. I'm I'm trying to see. I should have one handy here somewhere because I think this is all of my Ashcan comics. I really love Ashcan comics, and I tend to buy any Ashcan comic I see. So I've got a lot of them in here. I just don't remember if I saved one of my, and if I did save one of my sketchbook ones, I don't have it in here. But I have been thinking that would be a cool thing to put on the School of Fish as a free download so that you could make up your own and print them up and maybe even do an episode showing how I do them. But anyway, it would be just a set of pages like this, that you could fold up and staple into a booklet. And each page had a grid laid out on it that would have a grid laid out in the regular comic book format. And it'll have a fine little grid inside of it to help you know, like, where to break up panels and stuff if you wanted to. And I would have the page broken down with, like I do on my template when I'm drawing comic book pages, that mark the center and quarters and thirds up and down and side to side to help you break up panels if you want to do it in even halves or thirds. And having a little booklet like this was really handy for sketching in, especially when I first started working digitally and I wasn't quite comfortable starting just straight pencils on the digital surface yet. But being able to look at it and know that, like, this is going to be page 1, and then you're going to turn it, and that's going to be page 2, and that's going to be page 3. And after I get done drawing that scene, you're going to turn the page, and then, well, bam, you can have a splash page here. Having something that I could actually physically hold to draw that out in was so nice. And, it's only this big, so I can't get lost putting too much detail in it. But it was big enough that, if I really liked the way the layout was, I could scan it or just take a picture of it with my phone and blow it up behind my page in Clip Studio. And then I would turn it blue. And I could use that as rough pencils to jump off of to do finished pencils or layouts. I really enjoyed having these. And this was really easy to take with me anywhere. Something this size wasn't obnoxious. I could carry this in a pencil with me. If I was, sitting at one of my kids' football games and things were boring and they weren't playing, I could sit down and sketch out some ideas until they got off the bench and went to play again. Or, if we were at a meeting or we were at, a church social or something and I got bored, I could start sketching out more pages. It was really nice to have with me and be able to work at a coffee shop or whatever. I'm going to find the original files and I'm going to put it up on the School of Fish on the Patreon as a free download for anybody that wants it. But that was a handy tool. Doing it this way is also a handy tool. And so we know from the script that we need to show the bell ringing, the women coming out of the field, the priest telling them to hurry up, we need to get ready, them bathing and putting on the purified robes, them pulling the levers in unison, and the king waking up. That's a whole lot to put on one page. Now, what we could do, whoops, I'm on the wrong screen, sorry. What we could do is come in here. I'm going to make this as large as I can. But still, the nice thing about doing it like this is I can't get too lost in the details because it's not high enough resolution for me to get too lost. All right, so we could start out with a panel, like an establishing shot, maybe show the waterfall in the distance, and we could have the ladies in the field in the water harvesting, whatever food it is, and maybe show little hints of the village in the background. Let me get that a little larger. And then we could have a panel of the priest realizing from inside that, oh no, something's wrong and there's an alert and I need to let them know. I need to ring the bell. And then we could have a panel of him ringing the bell, however we wanted to do that, whether he was ringing it himself or whatever. And it's a big, gigantic bell, and maybe show some hints of mountains in the distance or something. And like already, I've gotten halfway through the page with that, and we're not very far in that story yet. Like somehow, by the time we get to the end of this, I need to have him waking up the king at the end. And so that's not going to work that way. We need to break this up. Either we're going to end up with 12 panels on the page, which I have done sometimes for certain things, that works, but I don't like that idea for this. So we're going to scrap it. And instead, what I'm going to do is thinking through it in my head, thinking through the beats that I really need to make sure I hit. I think I can combine the women being in the field and him ringing the bell and them realizing that they need to go to the temple. I think I can combine that in one shot. Especially if I make it a tall, thin shot, then I can show the temple above them and I can show them in the field. So let's say if we break this up, oh, that's rough. If we break that up into thirds, and I'm gonna break it up into 6 long panels that way. If we have the ladies here in the fields, and draw as many women out there as I feel like fooling with, and then we can show the waterfall in the distance and a little hint of the temple in there. Then we would have room up here for captions and stuff. We could have sound effects, have a hint of the village back here behind them. Okay, that works out pretty well. And now I know I need the king to be woken up at the end of this. So I want him saying, like, why did you wake me up? And I want the priest explaining that that there was a warning about a calamity coming. So we have him waking up. And I want to hide the reveal just yet, because this is something that only the School of Fish backers are going to know, but unless they've read the source book, which probably nobody's read but Kyron. At this point, the Quantum King is basically just a hit. So I kind of want to hide that reveal just yet, that he's just ahead. So I want to really kind of zoom up close to his face and the machinery and the priest's face. So I know I want to do that on the final page, because I want you to turn the page and then see that he's a disembodied head in a jar, basically, and has a cybernetic body that they're dressing in fine robes and stuff. But I don't want to give that away just yet. So I want that to be a page reveal, which is one of the nice things about laying it up with like this being the inside cover. Whoops. And page 1 is you can see it laid out. And then I know this is going to be page 2 and page 3. So, if I wanted to do a double page spread, they're laid out together. Anyhow. Okay, so I know I've got this broke up into 6 panels now. I know I want to get from here to here. And like I said, I want the priest hurrying them. I need to show them getting prepared. I need to show them pulling the levers in unison. So the next thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to work backwards here, and I'm going to put the priest down here, and I'm going to have him reading off of his script. and show some Kirby-esque machinery, and have the women that are now dressed in their robes and everything and covered head to toe and have their masks on and stuff so that they don't contaminate any of the electronics, and maybe a hint of the room, a hint of the waterfall going past, perhaps. I'm gonna have them pulling the lever because I know I need that to happen. And like I said, I managed to combine him ringing the bell here and them being in the fields, but I don't want to just jump from them being in the fields to being up in the temple like I did in the script, because to me that's way too big of a jolt. That's too jarring. Now that I'm actually looking on the page, I don't want to do that. So what I decide to do is I'm going to do like a real extreme shot looking down the side of the mountain, and I'm going to have the ladies working their way up the mountain, holding on to the edge on this little trail that is carved into the side of the mountain that you can see in the source book and stuff. And it goes up along the edge next to the waterfall. And I might even be able to squeeze in some of the village down here if I'm careful about it, and really show how treacherous this is and how they're risking their lives for this. And then I need to show them getting bathed and getting dressed. Now, originally, when I wrote this the first time around, I had planned on that being almost a page. Like, I wanted to really show that they were ashamed having to get disrobed in front of this old priest and get bathed, and the laborious process of the bathing and all this. But also, Ka is a pretty short, action-packed book, and I don't want to. I later decided I didn't want to waste a whole page just on that preparation, because I didn't feel like it moved the story forward enough to be worth the amount of space it was taking. So, I think if we do one panel, we could show them bathing and stuff together in the pool, and maybe one of them is putting water over her head, and then we could have the priest reading the instructions from the scroll and explaining. That shows us why this is important. It still has him leering on them and stuff, and then we could have somebody in the background that's having to get undressed. And then, so now we've got them coming out, going up the mountain, and then we could show that they've made it up that steep cliff. I'm showing the staircase that they climbed up so that we know where we are from one panel to the next. We can see it in the background here. We can see them going up it. We can see them finishing the way here. And then we can show like the bell here. And I decided to have it be a mechanical object that's hitting the bell. And then we'll have the priest here hurrying them on the edge and have like some of his robes hanging over and stuff. And I want to show how it changes from rough rock to like technical metal and stuff, like 80s Danger Room looking metallic walls and stuff on the inside. So, like, that's one way of laying up a page like that. And we could break it up any other number of ways, but it's way easier to change that. And that took me, like, if I wasn't talking and describing everything I was doing in the process, that would have took me 5-10 minutes to do. And if the client says, nah, I want to change this, that's not action packed enough of a layout for me. I want it to be all in horizontal panels, or I want it to be all zigzagged, or I want to do something crazy with it, or I want to do it from a completely different angle, or I decided, you know what, I'm going to scrap this scene altogether. It's a lot easier to have to redo that than it is the way I tend to do it. Now I'll show you the way that I tend to do it. And you can do with that as you will. Hold on. My mouse is dangled on a box of Ashcan comics that I've got down there under the table. That's where my mouse was hooked up. That's why I didn't want to move on me. All right, we're going to turn those off for now. And I'm just going to go ahead and open one of my standard comic book pages that I like to start from. Not Ashcan, not comic. There we go. All right, looks basically the same, except this is my page set up with the Kablam template, which is the same settings as I had before, except this one already has a panel border laid out on it. The background on that panel border is turned off so I can see through to my panel layout guide that I've already got in here, because I love having that panel layout guide because it has the light teal lines that let me break up pages evenly into halves or quarters, horizontally and vertically, and the purple lines that break it up into thirds, horizontally and vertically. Zoom in a little bit there so y'all can see it as something other than a black outline. And I just love that. That's really handy for me. This is available. I believe this is available for free on my Patreon account. And I'm going to be adding, if I haven't already added them, I got to go back and look. I've got a manga template, a comics wellspring template that I was working on. All of those things for all of the printers, a magazine size one, a double page spread one. I'm going to make all of that available eventually for free on my Patreon for anybody that just wants to use them as help setting up their comics. The only caveat to pay attention to is these are set at 600 DPI, because I like to work at really high resolution, because you never know when something, you never know when a really cool cover that you do is going to end up being something that you want to blow up into a poster, or that you want to blow up into a banner or something to sit behind your table at a con. Or as I've been doing recently, really cool images from one of your panels might be something that you want to turn into stickers, or it might be something that you want to turn into a t-shirt design or something. And working at a high resolution gives you the ability to have that at high resolution that you can do whatever you want to do with it. Or you just got really high res images of it, and and that's fine. That ain't gonna hurt anything to have it be extra high resolution for no reason. But there have been so many times that I have been able to use a relatively small panel to be part of a video or something that never would have worked right if I had only done it at 300 DPI resolution. But then once you zoomed into it and it's the size of a 46-inch TV screen, it would look like crap at a convention going by in an animation or something. So working at high resolution has benefited me really well. So the pages that I'm giving you are set up to 600 DPI. If you don't want to work at 600 DPI, that's absolutely fine. You could drop the resolution down to 300 and resave it, and there you go. Bob's your uncle. You're good to go. But these are the pages that I work from, and this is the way that I normally would do it if I was working on this for a client. I would come in with this. I would go to my subtool for the frame borders here. I would get the divide frame border tool, and I would play around. I mean, it's easy enough to, split up the page and say, well, what if I did it like this? What if I had them in the field here and then I showed him ringing the bell and then I show them climbing up. I show them in the temple getting bathed and then I show them pulling the levers to wake up the king. And then I show them talking and then I decide, oh, I don't like that. Well, I can just undo until I get back to where I was. And then if I decide, you know what, I want to do that 6-panel border, that 6-panel layout like we did in the other sketch, then I've got these lines that I can go from. I know that one's right in the center. I know the purple ones are in thirds. And if I start outside of the square, if I start inside the square, click, hold shift, and then let go, it makes me a nice cut line inside that square. If I start inside this square, click, hold shift, click and drag, and go all the way through the other panel, it'll put the line through the other panel, but it won't put it in the one I was in. If I start on the outside of the whole thing, and I'm on that purple line, so I know it's splitting it evenly into thirds, and I click the button, I hold shift, and then I click and I hold it down, drag all the way through, let go. I've got a nice even line cut all the way through both of those panels that's perfectly matched up, and I don't have to try and match up 2 separate panel gutters that I cut through the page. Oh man, that saves so much time. So much time. Now I'm going to turn off the panel layout tool, and you will also notice, or maybe you won't notice because it's kind of small for y'all, right here is already a panel layer set to blue. So it's already got a blue pencil layer set in there to start with. Everything is in these template pages, and it makes it super easy. That's why I love them. And I also have the name of the panel of the page set to 000 because most of my work gets printed through Kablam, occasionally other places, but usually Kablam. And Kablam likes to have their pages set up. When you send your pages to Kablam, they like to have them numbered 001, 002, 010 for page 10, 022 for page 22. Like, they like to keep it in order like that because you're not liable to go over 999 pages in a book. And that way, those numbers will always line up in line. Where if you just do one, and then you do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When you grab all those files and put them in order, you will get like 1, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, before 2 comes up, and then 20, 21, 20, they come up all out of order. 001, 002, 010, 011, 022, 134 for 134. Those always come up in line. So that's how they like to have their pages numbered. So I go ahead and number it that way. And then after I open it, I save as, and then I make it page, whatever number the page is for the client's book. That just helps me to go ahead and set it up that way in the beginning. And I don't have to worry about it later. I don't have to worry. With my OCD, I will always go back and doubt myself that, well, was it supposed to be a 3-digit number? Was it supposed to be 4? My OCD will never let me feel comfortable with it. But because I saved it as 000, I know when I go to resave the number, it's supposed to be 3 digits because it's already 3 digits. And that just confirms to me I don't have to go back to Kablam's website and check every time. You probably don't have to do that because you probably don't suffer with ADHD and OCD and all the crap I have to deal with every day. But for me, it's super helpful, and I love doing it that way. There you go. Kyron's always got OCD in the back of his mind. So anyway, there we go. That's why I have the pages numbered. So now I've gone ahead and cut the panels up. I've got the pencil layer already set up on my template. Whoops, and I'm on the wrong page again. You don't want to do that. And now I would basically do the same thing here that I did before. I would rough in the pencils and maybe they've got some bundles on their backs and they're looking an alarm up. They want the temple to be up here, so I've got room to put captions and sound effects and the waterfall, and they're all looking up in amazement because nobody has heard the bell ring in a generation or two, and they're standing in the water and there's reeds around them or whatever that they're harvesting. And then I'm going to have the extreme shot of the waterfall and them climbing the staircase and trees and some hints of the village down there and the ladies climbing up, and then we'll have them finishing the staircase. I like the idea of them holding on to the walls like it's really narrow and they're clinging to the walls to be safe. And then I want like some kind of big mechanical knocker there to ring the bell, and I want him standing here. Maybe he's got the scroll in his hand, have his little scarves and stuff. This dude's just covered up with scarves and things because he's got all these. He's been studying these scriptures and these technical manuals for years, and he's accomplished in all this different stuff. And then, like I said, we know we want to get to a close-up of the king here, and we'll have the old man priest reading the results and stuff from the prophet or the computer that has warned him that there's an impending event coming. Because anybody that's read Ka 2 already knows that things did not go well for the Skeetian slavers that captured Ka at the end of issue 2. And then, let's see, then we'll have the priest sitting here reading from his scrolls, telling them what to do. We'll have some machinery. And again, like, these should be loose. Don't get caught up in trying to make them super accurate right now. Don't get too caught up in trying to make them, all anatomically correct and stuff. Like, this is just to sketch it out and get the layout and stuff. And sometimes some clients want this for approval before you go on to pencils and waste a whole lot of time on it. My pencils generally aren't much more detailed than this. Like, I get a little bit more detailed than this, but not a whole lot because I do so much of my work in ink. And then we got them getting bathed in the pool and everything, and can make it a little sexy, but I don't want to be a creeper with it, but I would like to play up the, this is uncomfortable for them to have to do aspect. But and then we'll have the priest reading the instructions and stuff, which also has the double effect of showing, how important this is. And then we'll have somebody disrobing or getting dressed or whatever we want to do. And that's plenty good enough for that is absolutely plenty good enough for thumbnails That's probably better than we need for thumbnails on a lot of things. But that lets you know basically what we're looking at, what we're planning on putting where. Is that going to leave us enough room for the lettering and stuff? And this is where I like to start lettering. Now sometimes if I'm having trouble figuring out how I want to lay up a page, sometimes I will start with the lettering first and work through it that way because, you know, maybe that'll just naturally show me where certain parts would go better, or this part might need some room to breathe a minute. Some panels you can pack a whole lot of conversation in. Sometimes you need just a panel for somebody to say, damn, Sarah's here. And that's enough. Like, you get that reaction. Hello, Sarah. I'm glad you're here. At what stage do you determine things like light sources? That varies for me. A lot of times when I'm doing this part of the sketching, I will already have like a really clear idea of where I want the light source to be. So, like, sometimes I will go in really heavy at this point. Like for instance, let's say I really want to play up how dark it is up in this temple. Then when I'm doing this, I might go ahead and lay in some spot blacks and then come back with some white and sketch in some of those panels to show, that's like that. Like, I might go ahead and throw some stuff in like that now. If, like, I recently just did a job where I did rough thumbnail layouts for them and then did the pencils and then did the inks, which I usually don't do. Usually I'm comfortable enough in what I'm doing and I'm comfortable enough with the clients and the work that I'm doing. And, well, yeah, like Kyron said, obviously my inherent awesomeness is a big part of it. That sometimes, I will just go in and get halfway penciled in my layouts because I can see it. I know what I'm doing is going to be cool. I know the client's going to love it. And I jump ahead. But especially if I'm working with a new client, I might take things a little bit slower and figure out how things are going to go with them. But usually between my layouts and the inks is where I really nail down the light sources. But occasionally I will ink something entirely expecting the light source to be one way. And then when I go to color it, realize that's just not going to work. It's just not going to look good because I didn't think about the fact that that's going to put all of the important expressions in their face in the dark or something like that. And so sometimes I have to change it even after I might have inked it with the intention of the light source coming from one way. But I also don't like cover it in cross-hatching like some people do. So the only real difference is showing real shadows is either like spot blacks or heavier outlines somewhere. Like, I don't usually go crazy on the feathering and the cross hatching, so it's not usually a big problem if I need to change it. That's probably not real helpful because of the way I work, and I'm working for myself. I'm penciling for myself to ink. I would pencil absolutely differently if I was penciling for Kyron to ink. And if I was, I don't know if I would really change anything if I was inking for Sarah to color it. I would probably still ink the same way that I ink. But I absolutely would pencil way differently if I was penciling for somebody else to ink it. And occasionally I get asked to do that. And in those cases, essentially, I'm inking it because I'm taking that second pass that I take on my pencils would have been my inks anyway. But, You get hired for what you get hired for sometimes. And sometimes being a part of a cool project is worth not getting to do things the way you normally do them. That's all right. Ain't the end of the world. We ain't gonna get all worked up about it. No, that's what we're not gonna do. So anyway, that is the basics of me laying out a page like that. I wish I had a more exciting page to do. I looked through a lot of my clients' scripts and stuff, and there were lots of really cool scripts that had stuff that I really wanted to show you, like how I got from here to there, and parts where I really wanted to show, where I combined these two parts together and it made it better, and I broke this part up and made it better. But most of the best examples that I had handy that I could get to quickly haven't been published yet, and I don't want to, be team spoiler alert. I'm not a Danny J. Quick, if you will, type of guy. So I didn't want to do that to my clients that were so gracious to give me good jobs and help me pay my bills. And then some other ones just didn't have super exciting pages. And some of the stuff I really want to show in CAW, I don't want to show yet because I don't want to ruin it for you, because CAW 3 is going to be freaking awesome. I'm proud of it. And CAW 4, oh baby. So yeah, there's lots of cool stuff there. And the next issue of Fishtails should have, if he finishes the lettering in time, we'll have the short story that my son did that takes place in Green Zone and shows you more of what that world's going on. Like, it will have more to the Alice story than the brief introduction we got in this one. It'll have a story from the world of CAW that my friend T.S. Luther from Can't Be Killed Comics on TikTok is working on. And it gave me so many freaking goosebumps. It is so brilliantly written. And a character that gets introduced in CAW 3, it's going to tell us more about their backstory and more about who they are and more about the world that CAW's in now. And it is so good. And I'm so excited to get to show more of these worlds, like more of what's going on in CAW's world and more of what's going on in Green Zone and stuff, without necessarily having to wait for those books to get there. Like, I can give you little hints of what's going on in Fishtails, and that's cool. Also, for those who may not know, I changed up the naming on the tiers a little bit, and I added a School of Fish tier, which is no longer just a watch the show tier, which y'all still have access to at the $3 tier. But the School of Fish tier now, like, it gets the physical comics shipped every month, but it also gets once a month group hangout time where me and those students could sit and like really work through some of the things that they're dealing with. Like, I've already invested a lot of time at times, like walking Kyron through how to use flats and stuff and use select color gamut. And I'm like, I want to be able to invest that time in some of the students, but also, like, I can't do that for everybody for free all the time. And I really wanted to have a chance to like really get to delve into helping people work through some of their ideas and work on short stories together. And I wanted to be able to give people the option of, once you finish your short story, if you would like to see it get published, you could submit it for Fishtails. And, as long as it's decent and it's not full of, like super vulgar, nasty stuff, like as long as it's good, you can see it get published in the book. Not only will you get a copy of the book like you do every month because you've subscribed to a tier that gets a physical copy of my book shipped to you every month, but if your story appears in Fishtails, then you also get access to print as many copies as you want at cost directly from Kablam. There is no going through a middleman. There is no paying me fees. There is no royalties. There's no nothing. You can print up at cost directly from Kablam. You can print 5 or 10 copies and give them out to your family and friends. You can print 20 to 50 copies and take them to a local show and sell them. See if making comics is up your alley. See if you have what it takes to sit at a con all day pitching books and hawking it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It's a good way to figure it out. You can print 1,000 copies and sell them online if you want to. I am not going to be hung up about it. Worst case scenario, you sell 10,000 copies of the book. You make thousands of dollars in profit. The book gets out in front of thousands of more eyes, which is good for everybody. And I find somebody that I need to hire and put to work selling my books for me and writing stories for me. So win-win. But I want to help people. I want to help people get their feet wet. I want to help people learn how to do this. I want to help people see their stuff get published. I know some of the small books that gave me a shot in the beginning to publish some of my work, like really showed me that I can do this. My stuff looks awesome in print. It gave me the confidence I needed to move forward and actually make this my career. One of the drawbacks to some of those projects were, by the time, like I got my work published in a book, and that was awesome and it's exciting. But if I wanted to get copies myself, we have to pay for the initial printing of the books, shipping them to the creator, publisher, whatever you want to call him, and then his little markup, and then shipping the books to me. There was no room left for me to be able to buy books at that price and be able to sell them for any kind of money at a local show, when the majority of the work admittedly was pretty amateurish, because they were just giving anybody that wanted a shot. And this way it will be open to amateurs and first timers and people that are learning their craft. But the book will also be full of, professional quality stories from, me and other professional artists and writers. And so there will be good quality stuff in there. And, maybe there's somebody just starting out. Maybe there's some really dedicated 12-year-old kid that, wanted to join the class and learn what he was doing and worked really hard and made a cool story. That's awesome. I want to give them a chance too. But then they will have a book that they can get printed from Kablam at a reasonable price that they could take to their local show and they could sell, and they might be able to make a couple of dollars on and be encouraged that maybe this is something they want to do. And if I can help that make somebody's dream come true, even just being able to see their story come up in print in a cool comic book, I want to help do that where I can. And, if I get a little bit of extra advertising out of the process, that's an awesome blessing on top of it. Professional quality stories. Guess I'm out of consideration. Oh, Kyron. Where is, you gonna make me dig around and find my Ballad of the Black Rose, because I know I got it around here somewhere. That was a fine job. But I also am, interested in opening it up to, some of my friends, if they have something that they might want to publish or republish in Fishtails, or have a short story idea that you want to put in there or something, I would be happy to consider it. I don't want to just be like, hey, entire world, send me your crappy drawing. I don't want to just say that. But, if Kyron or Sarah or somebody had a short story they wanted to put in there, or if somebody had a story that they wanted to repurpose and put in there just to get a different set of eyes on Shaman's Destiny or something, put it in there as a series of short stories. I would be fine with that. For a long time, what I've really wanted to do would be put together an anthology book that a lot of us creators went in together on. And, and that anthology book might have, like 8 pages of Saw the Lightning Wielder, and 8 pages of Green Zone, and 8 pages of Ace Blade, and 8 pages of Hot Shot, and 8 pages of, The Surgeon, or whatever, like whoever wanted to join together on it. And, and then you would end up with a fat book that had really high quality, awesome stories in it that, if we got them printed in bulk, like when we go in together on it, wouldn't cost any one of us a fortune to get really nice quality books at our tables that would absolutely have something in it for everybody. And, and we would go in together and order the books, split them up, and, y'all sell them. And, you've got this cool anthology book that has stuff from everybody in it. And I've always thought that would be a really cool idea. But trying to herd that many creators together and get them to cooperate on something is like trying to herd squirrels. And I don't think I have the organizational skills to pull that off. As much as I would love to be a part of it, I don't think I have the organizational skills to pull that off. But if one of you have a short story idea that you want to do and put in there for fun, or if you have, if you want to repurpose something you already have and put it in there as a series of shorts just to get it in front of some new eyes, or, potentially have a new book that you could put on your table that also has some of your work in it, hey, hit me up, let me know. We could get something done. I want to keep it manageable sized, but I definitely want to help people out. And I know a lot of people have been watching the School of Fish art stream and stuff, wanting to learn how to better their craft, wanting to learn how to get better at this and make better comics. And I want to be able to help do that. I want to help facilitate that in real time. And I'm willing to invest some of my time and effort in it. The price tag on the School of Fish tier is to make sure partly to cover the books that are going to get shipped out every month at that tier, and partly to make sure that the students that take that tier are also invested and aren't just screwing around. I don't want to end up just babysitting a bunch of people's 8-year-old kids that, think it's fun to talk about comic books but have no intention of actually doing it. But like, if people actually want to learn how to do this, I want to invest in you and help make it happen. Anyway, thank y'all for hanging out. I would love to hang out for another hour, but I have to get prepped and ready for another show because I'm going to be on Thursday Night Throwdown here in 53 minutes. So I need to go rest my back and get something to eat and get ready for that. So anyway, thank y'all for hanging out. It was good to see you. Sarah says, the downloaded Call of 2, T-Man, and Fishtails. Still haven't gotten men to sit down and read. Hopefully this weekend. Especially excited about Fishtails. I hope you like it. I really enjoyed it. Thank y'all for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed it. And to everybody else from Patreon that comes check it out later, hope you enjoyed it too. I will see everybody next Thursday, unless you want to come hang out on Thursday Night Throwdown with Rodney Fike. I will be there in a few minutes. So anyway, peace out.
Hello, everybody. It is your Uncle Fish back again for School of Fish art stream. J-Man wants Gatling gun on